Good morning, everybody. Um, First and foremost, good morning, everybody. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for their support, the people that are subscribing, we're rising up, and the people that are joining. If you want to support the channel, I appreciate it. The links are all in there. Um, and I hope you enjoyed that video. Does the mafia still exist? Okay. Another question someone might ask is, did the mafia sell drugs, marijuana? And there are some personalities that came out on YouTube and they just strictly said, no, the mafia didn't sell drugs. We killed and murdered people, but no, selling drugs is just too immoral. I mean, so of course, you good people know that's a joke. Um, a lot of people sold drugs, whether they were with the mafia or outside of the mafia. Number one, and in New York, you can't say, like, you can't make blanket statements like, did the mafia, because there's 5 families, there's thousands of associates all over the place, and you just don't know what every Tom, Dick, and Harry did behind the scenes. They might have been a member of the mafia, but in their private time, in their personal lives, or outside of the mafia, they might have orchestrated deals, which they did. And so, as far as marijuana is concerned, my godfather, more or less with the Colombos, but he did work for all the families, and he had this friend of his that I hated. I hated him. He was just very, very unlikable guy, and he was a weasel. He was just a creep, and they had warehouses in Manhattan that were filled with tons and tons of marijuana. And then there would be in the garment industry, those big, the garment industry, all the warehouses, all the clothes in them and everything. But they had bought one or rented one, and it was all filled. And and it was under a guard. There was a guard on site all the time, and it was very, very, very well protected. It had a lot of pot in there, at least pot, and maybe some other things that might have came and went from that location. So the mafia, you get so many narratives on what is what, and but you have even when I was running around, and that this guy come in, and they were doing, there was one of the extended cartel members, a cartel member that was doing deals either with the boss or another guy, and right from the club, and they knew about it. So, I mean, the mafia was big. I mean, you watched Goodfellas, and the bosses were against it, but Henry Hill and other people were doing it. You can't police everybody in your organization. And there were other organizations with higher ranking associate captains, underboss, that knew it was going on. And I remember my godfather way back when uh, there's a guy that's out. He's got a channel, the Mecca. He come in and he brought crack to Harlem and everywhere else, and he did prison time. And he's got a channel, Mecca Audio, and they were in business with him. Certain people from different families. It's a no-brainer. It's just a no-brainer. And they made tons of money. And if you're a hustler and you're a member of one of these families, you take chances. I would hope my boss frowned upon it. I would hope he frowned upon it, because I would go in the trenches and in the shadows and get the money myself if it was me. So whatever I get is mine. There's no sending money up here, sending money up, or any of that. So it would be nice. And I mean, of all the crimes they're doing, and then they say, well, if you're, you don't want to get those penalties for the drug laws and everything, but there might have been some families that weren't into it as much. And if the boss, another thing that happened was, if you got some families, I'm just saying, for example, I'm not 100%. Just say you had the Lucchese and Genovese, and of course the Colombos. The Colombos, I think the Colombo family is like the poster child for public recognition for just like anything goes with the Colombo family. More or less the Gambino family too. But Lucchese, Genovese, kind of different perception. But if it was going on in certain areas, they would like transfer. They'd transfer somebody to another family and still maybe get a piece of the action on some things. A lot of times people might start in a family, and according to their duties and skills and abilities to make money, they could, give me Bill and I'll give me Jack and I'll give you Tony, because we can strengthen our families with these resources. But these guys who I was around, they were doing drugs. These members were doing cocaine. They were grabbing whores. They were blowing all their money. They were rocking and rolling. But when you got a dinosaur old boss that's ready to retire, he just knows he's still making his money. And whatever he's going to do with his crews or what is just his business. A lot of those guys didn't last anyways. That's just the way it was. But they made it. Marijuana was like, why would they waste their time with marijuana? But my godfather and that creep that was selling the marijuana, he had to get approval, and he had to pay money to the Colombos. He had to pay the money. He had to, because somebody else could be utilizing that space for some other illegal enterprise and generating money. So my godfather did work for the Colombos. Mostly he did work for other families, but he had this creep friend that he was going to set up and, make, distribute marijuana. So, but it was mostly what they would do with that marijuana, which there was tons up there, is send a lot of it to all points west and or south, and at wholesale prices. it was a little higher quality marijuana back then. But there was Mexican, but Mexican pot back that was the lowest grade of pot that there was. And then Colombian Gold came out. Colombian Gold was like another step above for pot quality. So they had the Colombian Gold, and maybe if a shipment come in from to Harlem with those cocaine, very, very powerful cocaine dealers, they had the same connection, and they could throw a ton or so of something on a boat, or however they did it, and that was higher grade. But compared to what the hydroponic stuff they have today, I had a scientist and a botanist back then that cultivated pot that, well, let's just move on because it's too complicated. But yeah, they would then I mean, and then in all the boroughs, they would outsource. Just there was your regular dealers that would sell an ounce or $10 bags, half ounce, quarter ounce, and it would all trickle down all the way to the end user, to the pothead, and they made a ton of money on that. They made a ton of money on it, but just as like anything else, my godfather wasn't a made member. He was connected mostly to the Colombo family, but you can't just be making hundreds of thousands of dollars on somebody's geographical turf. So he more or less brokered that between, and this guy, we'll call him Jay, he was the biggest creep. He didn't even compensate my godfather that well. And I got in some really disagreements with my godfather about it because he was a hardcore guy, and I was saying, he's a creep. He's chiseling you. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And my godfather would get pissed off because it might have been a little of embarrassing. He wasn't a pushover by no means, but he let this creep get away with murder on just not compensating him. If it wasn't for my godfather, he wouldn't have made a nickel. And he's living high off the hog, and my godfather, wasn't at that financial level. And all through the years, it pissed me off, and my godfather got pissed off. But he let this punk creep run that marijuana business in New York City. Back then might have had 9-10 million people. It was just so easy of wholesaling that and just making tons and tons and tons of money. But the biggest money maker for the drugs, of course, would be cocaine. Associates might have dealt heroin in whatever level, but cocaine, when some of these guys got hooked up with, Harlem had the connections to the cartels, and I don't know everybody. You don't know every single person, captains, whoever in every family who might have had some backdoor connections. I know this outfit had connections with the cartel because they had a guy come in, and it's in one of my videos. It was supposed to be on the hush and everything else, do this, do that, and serious people, but it ain't all fearful because it's just making money. Just make money, and as long as you do things well, and there's no fear of getting hurt. Just, because people are just stupid and just do things right. And, the fear factor will go away. Yeah, you always have to be aware. And yeah, I had to be aware of what is what. I broke the rules a couple times because I said some things to members and you can't. And it was a mess. But if you just follow the rules, these guys made millions and millions of dollars, but they blew it all every week. Degenerate gamblers. The higher chain of command, the hierarchy further up, they had real estate, they had nice houses out in the suburbs, they had shelter companies, they did it the right way. They had accountants, lawyers, they had everything right for that rainy day. So I saw Joey Merlino's starting a podcast. Joey Merlino, and I think he's in Florida, but he'll have some good stuff out there. Mike Francis is endorsing him. He'll have some good stuff. Joey Merlino's on, what's this world coming to? God bless him too. And Mike Francis. Yeah, I appreciate your support. We're rising up. Thank you for subscribing. If you want to join and support me, that's nice too. There's a link to my book. I try to sell that once in a while on Amazon Books. So that's that. In tonight's game, I like Utah. What is it? What are they? +3, 3.5 against Oregon State. So that's about it for the football. For the people that support the channel, I'll do it in the members, or if you do the super chat, we'll go there and then we'll talk football and we'll do it like that. Most of my viewers don't want to hear football talk, so that's fine. I understand that. So thanks a lot. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. We're alive, so let's make the best of it. I appreciate you guys supporting me and subscribing, share, and like and comment and that kind of stuff. So we're rising up. So I've been pumping these videos out left and right, and I plan to continue to do that, God willing. If I we give Jesus Christ a shout out here on my channel all the time because I think it's the right thing to do, or whatever you believe in, that's your prerogative. So thank you, folks. I'm going to keep pumping these out, and we'll see where it goes. So, no, and the mafia doesn't exist today. The government is the new mafia, okay? Thank you, folks. I appreciate your support.